Our mission is to ensure that people and AI agents being more and more like people, use only the right information, the right version, because what we manipulate with document management are the documents on which you cannot afford a mistake. I would say one of the most important things, both for hiring, ensuring quality, and motivating the teams, is just make sure that your developers understand the purpose, the usage of your product. I mean, it sounds cliche, but so many times I see developers who have no idea why they need this feature or that feature, or I'm working on this, but I have no idea why it's used. It's terrible. If your developer knows that that particular feature is used by an airplane manufacturer to avoid certain mistake or to deliver planes faster, or their world is changing. Okay, I cannot afford to make a mistake, and I know my work has an impact on the world. So I guess the single most important things in terms of company culture is to make sure the entire company, from the product owners, the quality managers, the developers, everybody knows what the product is used for and why it's important. And then everything aligns automatically.
Hello, digital warriors, and welcome back to the Forge of Unicorn podcast. Today we have another special guest that is for the CEO mini-series in the head of a CEO, and is Stéphan Donzé. Stéphan is a CEO of AODocs and is a very peculiar SaaS company, and Stéphan will tell more about this in a few seconds, because now I want to pass the word to him. Because Stéphan, I have a lot of questions for you, because you are one of a kind. You are a CEO that is also a technical geek. And this is something remarkable. And I want to investigate a lot about the story of how you become from a geek a CEO of one of the most successful SaaS company in the US. Without further ado, Stéphan, welcome.
Thank you. Great to be here. So a little bit about my background. I started as an engineer, so I have a double degree in electronics and computer science. And the first part of my career was in France in a company named Exalead. We built a search engine. At the time we started, Google was just getting online, and so we built a complete search technology which we applied to enterprise documents, not just the web. It was quite advanced at the time, scalable, automatic replication with very high performance and so on. So I led the R&D of Exalead for the first few years, and then I moved to the US to the commercialization of the product, of the technology in the US market. And in 2010, we were acquired by Dassault Systèmes, the big French software company. And I stayed a little bit, about 2 years at Dassault Systèmes to help with the integration of the Exalead technology within the Dassault portfolio. And that was, for me, a great opportunity to see what the selling business critical software in B2B was about. So Dassault has fantastic customers in America, from Boeing to Procter & Gamble to lots of very large corporations. And I saw firsthand the kind of value you can create when your software manages the business critical information of your customer. And that gave me to create something similar, but with modern technology. Dassault has been created in 1980, so it's on-premise traditional software. And at the time I was there, it was the beginning of the transition of public cloud technology from consumer to the enterprise. Google was just distributing Gmail in the enterprise. It was quite new, quite revolutionary. And I was thinking, if I build a product on that kind of technology, but designed for the enterprise, maybe we can combine two things that are normally incompatible: a good user experience, a good flexibility, and business critical software. So this combination became possible the 2010, 2011 with the arrival of public cloud technology on the B2B market. So for me, it was a unique opportunity to create something completely new. And by chance, at the time, I was able to reconnect with the original investor of Exalead, who had in the meantime acquired a professional services company in Europe. specialized in deploying cloud technology. So I had all the ingredients to build something new because this company had access to early adopters I need for my new product. So we put the two companies together and we built a bootstrapped model where the initial professional services revenue have been funding the initial development of the software. So as a bootstrapped entity, we never had to raise money. We built the entire company up to today where AODocs is way profitable with our own revenue without raising capital. And that makes us resilient, cost effective, profitable, and yet growing company. So like you said, a bit unique in the startup landscape.
Yes, because typically a lot of startups, they are used to raise a lot of round of funding. But in Europe, it's not that common. A lot of companies instead, they have the mindset like you have just described, and I have as a CEO as well. You don't have to do the step longer than what you can, because otherwise you will be hanged up with mortgages, loan, with credit lines that you have to make profits to pay them instead of grow your company. And this is intriguing, and is something that I guess we will explore in the follow-up of the interview. But I don't know if all the digital warriors out there, they are aware of what a document management system like AODoc is doing and why it's so critical, especially now with AI, where the wrong information injected in a prompt through a document like prompt injection could be really malicious. So can we have a small snippet of what the company is doing and why it's so important to have a critical document system?
So our mission is to ensure that people and AI agents being more and more like people, use only the right information, the right version of the document, follow the process, follow traceability and so on. Because what we manipulate with document management are the documents on which you cannot afford a mistake. We help Google build data centers faster. When you build a data center, if you use the wrong version of the construction plan or the wrong version of the operating procedure, you can make a mistake that will delay the project, cost millions of dollars, or create an outage. So the kind of documents you manipulate in a project like this must be validated, reviewed, certified before being transmitted to the different parties. We do the same with Veolia, with water treatment plants. Same thing. If there's a mistake in one of these projects, you can have months of delay or have to rebuild the entire facility. So it's huge. But we work with other companies, big manufacturers who get their products certified by the FDA or by the FAA for aviation. So each time in each of these processes, if you have a mistake, if someone uses by mistake last year's version of the document, either they missed an update or they, for some reason, took their own private copy of the document instead of using the official one, someone can get injured. There can be an accident in the factory. There can be a container stuck in a port, cannot be loaded on the boat because they are missing the certificate. So this is what document management means. We're not talking about sharing files in folders like you do with Docs and Dropbox. We're talking about documents that on which an error can cost millions of dollars. And so we do this in the cloud.
And also,
and we do this increasingly with AI. I will comment later how it works.
So there are also a lot of legal implication in using the wrong version of a document. It's not only for security and standard regulation, right?
Absolutely. It can be legal reasons. Let's say you have a litigation with another party and you have to prove to the judge that you did things right. So it's all about traceability. It's all about proving that you have been able to follow the procedures. It can be about certifications. You want to be 9001 certified. To be certified, you need to have to demonstrate to an auditor that your policies have been properly reviewed and evaluated for risk, and et cetera, et cetera. It can be getting your product approved by the FDA. If you don't have an FDA clearance when you're a biotech company, if your product is not stamped by the FDA, you can't sell it. So it's in your way. And there's a lot of paperwork that needs to be in order to get that certification. So it can be legal, it can be industry standards, it can be safety, people not getting injured because by using the wrong procedure, all sort of consequences.
I love where the discussion is leading now, because you are touching one of the topic I am challenging all my guests about, and this standard and regulation. So all this legal compliance, all the standards that you have quoted in the description of the mission of your company are real. There are standards out there in the industry for almost everything. And I say almost, because we have one black sheep in the industry, and this software. So all the time I was challenging everybody, from investor to CEO to peers, so that they are a guru in software craftsmanship, about why software doesn't have any standard, why software is not predictable like all the other engineering disciplines. Am I wrong, or are we missing here something in our industry?
Well, it's really interesting, and I agree with you. It's somehow shocking. I think it's mainly the dominant culture in software is speed. The best value, the most revered value in software is build fast. And there's a tolerance for mistakes. Okay, it's normal to have bugs. It's even written in contracts, right? The standard software contract, like you sign when you take a buy online of Salesforce or Oracle or anything, it's software is delivered as is with all the possibilities of bugs, etc. So the possibility of a bug has been written in the market standard contracts of every software. And it's okay when you use software for casual things, but when you use software to manage nuclear power plants or a plane, it's a different story. So that being said, there are regulations that apply, right? If you use software as a medical device, you are subject to the FDA. If you use embedded software in the automotive, you are subject to the regulations that apply to automotive. So you could argue that those standards come from the different industries in which you apply software. But as a culture, software engineers, you hire someone, a software engineer from the university, they have not been trained for writing business critical software. When you bring them in the team, you have to re-educate them, and including us when our software is used in many business critical situations. And I have constantly to remind the team that, guys, if our software breaks, there are some shipments that won't go on time. There are some assembly lines in factories that might get stuck. It's hard consequences when software fails. So I agree with you that there's a missing link between real critical software that's subject to certifications like automotive and medical device, normal software that is as is. We're missing kind of a middle ground of a standard quality certification for industrial B2B software.
So we are on the same point of view here, and I have an example for you so that maybe we are able to uncrack this piece of the code today. As you, I have double master degree, and I come as an engineer in telco and robotics. On top of it, I became a software engineer looking at how the world was shifting from analog to digital. But when I arrived to the software, I was shocked because software wasn't predictable as it was doing any kind of blueprint in electronic or in electrotechnic. If I have to put a cable from A to B, I need to know how much is the length, which kind of cable I have to put is based on a lot of parameters that are predictable. So I upfront have a test to know that the cable will stand between A and B, and the kind of ampere will pass through the cable will not blow up the wire. And I know it because I have a datasheet. To be honest, I have the datasheet right there still, since my old times in the high school. And this is predictable. When I was working with my friends and my brother in Ferrari F1, everything was predictable. So they ran the simulation for the engine to last X% more than the most challenging racetrack, that is Spa-Francorchamps. So their approach to performance, real production performance, is led by test first. But in software, if you do test first, you are one of a kind, because nobody almost is doing test-driven development as a normal engineering practice. Everybody is telling, okay, we are doing agile because we are doing Scrum. But Scrum is like a recipe to be a chef without the practice to be a real chef because you don't have the technical practice. So I see these missing link indeed that are the technical practices, the way of working as an engineer. And not because we don't have in the market, but because the market is not applying them.
Yes, I agree. There's another problem that is maybe even worse. There's the software supply chain is extremely hard to control. And we've seen it firsthand with the SolarWinds issue, for example, right? Even if you have the best practice and you test your code and you do all of this, you're still vulnerable to all of the dependencies you have, the open source libraries, the things you bring from the outside.
Yes.
To use your analogy in engineering, like normal engineering, aerospace. If I build a plane, I can buy aerospace grade aluminum. It's certified. I know my supply chain. There's mechanisms in place to guarantee that all the parts I put in my plane have been aerospace. There's no such thing in software, right? If you want to build critical software, you cannot use any open source module because you can't trust the supply chain. You have to reinvent the wheel everywhere or to rebuild your own secure repository. Look at what Google is doing or Amazon are doing in their own data centers. Ultimately, they have their own kernel, they have their own libraries, and they have re-internalized all of that supply chain because that's the only way to have something certified. This missing supply chain is becoming a real problem, and supply chain attacks are becoming more and more common.
Yes. And to put some example that so other leaders and investors, they will understand, the two most critical one was in the past Log4j.
Yes.
Where a simple logger was used to ingest a malware in software. And a few weeks ago came out that ESLinter was injecting in Windows a malware because the author of the package, the library, was trapped into a phishing technique and the token was sniffed and they released a few versions that were injected with malware. So, but these are mainstream libraries that everybody is using in their package management. So absolutely agree with you. It's not only the way of working, but it's also the manufacture chain that is not producing an environment where you can trust it.
Yes.
And it's funny because we purchase software with awareness that when we sign the contract, we accept that it's faulty. I want to purchase a car.
It's become normal and expected that updates can break your phone or your car, or it's being tolerated. It's very strange, right?
Yes, it's tolerated, but this doesn't mean that people are still accepting it. Because my neighbor the other day was stuck with a famous German brand with an electric car, and he got really pissed. So, but he accepted this because he cannot do anything, and now he's without car after 2 weeks almost.
Yeah.
So it starts to become more and more evident that software is leading to a tolerance from the market of fault. But the problem, in my opinion, starts to be that software is everywhere. And now we jump to the second part of this gigantic topic. AI is boosting the perception that everybody can create software to a point that if even professionists cannot create the software in the right way, can an amateur vibe coding creating a production application?
I think we
or only a toy?
We are at the top of the hype cycle for anything, right? But vibe coding, I think we are at the top, and we are quickly going down in the disillusionment through, because I've been reading more and more lately that the illusion of acceleration from vibe coding is actually more than compensated by the time you take to fix the bugs. So it's great for demos. We use, for example, on our team, like every other company, right? We've been looking at it, and first we were thinking that we could double the productivity of every developer and go ahead and so on. After the fact, after testing it, what we realize is it's good for demos. Okay, sometimes you need custom code to do a quick demo to wow a customer or to give them a sense of what it would look like. Perfect, because this is code that you throw away after showing the demo. So that's great. It's good for testing. Writing automated test is a chore for developers. They don't like to do it. Without AI, they don't even do it. With AI, you have code that produce the unit test automatically. Okay, great. If there's a bug in the unit test, it's less problem than if there's a bug in the real software. But it's a real help. It's really helping us reach our target of 100% of testability of the code. Without AI, we could not reach this. So this is good. But for writing the real code or updating the real code, no. In some specific cases, when you start from the blank page, yes, but our code base is quite complex. We don't trust AI to make a pull request in the entire code base. It doesn't work. But for demos, for getting started on a new project, or for unit tests, writing testing code, yeah, sure, it's a great help.
You touch an amazing point, and you have sparked a grenade of topics here. Absolutely, vibe coding, it seems to me also with all the experiment that we have done so far, that is great in product discovery. You do an MVP, you do a prototype, you do a test, you discover with your user if this idea is something that the market will purchase. You productize it in the right way, so with engineering standard, and then you trash it. So the place for vibe coding is discovery and trash bin. Then AI is very powerful to feel a lot of dysfunctional behavior of our fellow software engineers, that they are developers more than engineers, because they love to code and they don't love to do tests because they are not used to think as an engineer, where an engineer is putting the test up front, the creation of product. And in this is a mitigation that you can start to have a high amount of coverage. It's a fragile coverage because you are testing as an engineer the implementation, not the behavior of the code, because AI is yet not capable to discern these two topics, but it's better than nothing. Absolutely. Then there is the new topic of agentic AI that goes in your code base and do all the magic in one click when you are sleeping during the night. And this starts to become a real pain for a lot of organizations, because the complexity of the code base is so huge that without the proper scaffolding that tells the agent, buddy, your scope of intervention is only this small piece that reduce a lot the hallucination of AI, the code base is more than an ounce destroyed. And we have many customers that they face this drama and they had to roll back all the stuff the agent did. And what came out is that indeed the problem is hallucination due to larger scope of problem instead of a small one. I guess it's the same issue that you have on your products, with all the information that are inside these documents. When you enhance your platform with AI, the risk of hallucination is very high if you are not able to instruct the AI in the proper way, isn't it?
Yes, it's and I don't know if there's an easy solution to that problem. The issue is that it's the compounding of errors, right? If you have an agent that has to do multiple rounds of thinking, each round of thinking 5% of error, it compounds very quickly to a very high error rate. But you don't need that kind of totally autonomous agents to get productivity in document management. What we apply, but we see it very effective in our business of helping customers manage their critical documents, is very simple things. You have most of our customers do manually all of the tasks. We have customers who receive hundreds of thousands of documents per day through an email address, and they just have to assign it to the right person. So basic categorization, recognizing that this PDF is in fact 3 documents that are stuck together and you have to split it in 3 pieces. And then this part is a letter, this part is a certificate, and this part is a scan of a passport. Basic things, that already save a lot of time. On these simple tasks, AI is extremely effective. You get 99+% of accuracy and you're fine. And even if the most important thing we do in AI processing of documents is not so much the accuracy of the result, is the accuracy of the confidence score. If your AI is able to say, this is the information I have high confidence, or on the contrary, this is information I have medium confidence, then you can send the medium confidence to a human to review. Customers don't mind having a small percentage of documents that have to be reviewed. What matters is to be able to detect the documents on which you have a doubt and send it to humans. But the stake right now, even if the hype is about autonomous agents and like fantasy and science fiction stuff. The real business value is still on basic things. We're talking to an insurance company. Their risk management agents, the people who detect fraud, they can process 2 or 3 cases per day. Why? Because each case is a lot of complex documents. They have to review everything. They have to read everything thoroughly, decide whether they involve an expert or not. All of this work can be dramatically accelerated just by giving the agent a summary of the files, sorting the files in the right order so that they can read them faster, or generating the letter that you send to the expert to ask their help on this or that case. Now, if this agent can do 4 cases per day instead of 2 or 3, it's a gigantic productivity gains for the company, and it doesn't involve any science fiction stuff. It's just using the basic document management things like summarizing the document, translating the document, extracting the information to populate the form automatically. Those things can be done with very high accuracy without needing the futuristic agents. It's just AI applied right at the right place with the right safeguards that we build in our system. So this is what we're
And this is what,
as opposed to science fiction stuff.
Yes, and this is what I love in this mini series of In the Head of a CEO, because a CEO, differently than an investor or a CTO, has to be really pragmatic.
Yes.
Because the company depends from your decision, your strategy, and your vision. And as we just observe, your thought process is exactly the thought process of somebody that is fully aware that there is hype, fully aware that there is misuse of the technology, as always it was in humankind. We can recall the atom research. You can have the chemotherapy or the nuclear bomb or a power plant, but the technology was always the same. It always being in humankind the tendency of misusing, but people needs to be pragmatic and aware of what works and what doesn't. In your case, it's clear you have done a lot of experimentation of AI. You have found where it's working and what brings return of investment to your customer. And this is lovely because finally we start to see real data from the field.
I think the key point is to just start with what is the problem. Too often we have a new technology and after we have the solution and we search a problem corresponding to the solution. So of course, it's the typical case where you will misuse or twist technology to do something else. Starts with the basics. What do people want? They have repetitive tasks. Some of those tasks can be addressed by AI. Some of those tasks can't, but it's not all or nothing. You don't need an agent that's able to automate a whole process. You need something that's able to accelerate some of the steps, and already it produce ROI that's already very considerable. Why do we want to do directly? It's like the self-driving technology, right? The agents things is the car without a driver. But I think we're not there for applying AI to documents. We are at the first step. The first step is just the car can park itself, or the car can follow a straight line. But it's already something, right? We don't need the full self-driving. I'm happy with a car that can park itself and can follow a straight line on the highway. So again, in our business, we cannot afford the mistakes on our documents. So we have to balance the acceleration we provide to our customers with the first and primary mission, which is to help them not make mistakes.
And I love your example of the car. Is indeed the same approach that we have with manufacturing and with car. So the car, for a long time, we grew up with car that wasn't with the cruise control. Then the cruise control started to be optional. Then started to be a commodity. Then the optional started to be the adaptive cruise control. Now we have almost all the car with those 2 levels of assistant, that you have the line assistant and the adaptive cruise control. Still, the car doesn't have an autonomous drive. Still, in the manufacturer that is building this car, that is one of the highly regulated industry as standard, the manufacturer line are an hybrid of human force working in cooperation with robotics. Because, for instance, I have some discussion with my fellows in Ferrari, and if you still purchase a Ferrari V12, the guy that is building the engine is one guy that is overlooking the engine build process from the beginning to the end. And they have a lot of robotics involved, but still there is a human that is ensuring that the quality is the right one. So if the industry is yet not ready to embrace fully automated manufacture chain, isn't funny that the marketing is selling then, hey buddy, in software, you can use AI to automate everything.
Yes, that's for sure. And since we're talking
Good.
about this Waymo, so the Google subsidiary doing self-driving car, is also using AODocs to help with their safety procedures. So the documents that describe what safety measures are in place in Waymo, these documents that are highly critical, obviously, are managed by our system as well.
This is beautiful and also open up to another point. That is, these documents, because they are certified, they cannot be affected of prompt injection, because this is one of the critical problems that agents and AI lately they start to face. So the other day we were testing a new AI agent with some crafter in my organization, and we were laughing to the disclaimer, hey, put your personal information at your own risk. And we say, why? Then we went to read all the disclaimer, and in the disclaimer was, and this was funny to read, and also finally somebody that started to talk about the new security threat in the AI time. Be careful that if you put your credential, your token, your authorization into the agent, and the agent in doing his stuff is landing on a document, on a page, on a blog, or whatever, that has a prompt injection that is maliciously telling the agent, hey, go there and reset my password and send it to me. This is something that we cannot prevent. And I was, okay, intriguing. We start to open to a new kind of cybersecurity threat. With your point, absolutely this cannot happen. And so I see that there are a lot of new products that will join the market in the near future due to the massive adoption, because at the end it's a reality. AI is there and a lot of people is highly using it. The point that I want to provide now with you is this. Let's say that we are two geeks here. I started when I was a kid with the Commodore 64. I guess you started with the same age.
Not long after that, yes.
Right? Then I went into the Amiga, and then I went into the PC. I was shocked and horrified of the PC, because when I saw the black and green screen used to the Amiga graphic, I said, what the hell is this crap? And then arrived Windows 3.1 and all the saga until now, where we have fantastic operating system and everybody is a digital native. Now, the new kids, they are the new beta generation, as I understood they call them since the release of ChatGPT 3 years ago, because they are AI native. So we know since the genesis of this technology what happened. And so we have the data and the history of taking decision as CEO of our organization in a meaningful way, because we have a lot of technical background. What happens if we don't have this background and we are a slave of a system that is selling us hype and we don't have anybody that is helping us? Is this a drama for a lot of organizations?
Yes. Well, the most notable example, I guess, is Boeing. You see the comeback of Boeing now that finally the boss of Boeing is an engineer who understands how to build a plane. The company is suddenly getting better. And imagine Tesla or SpaceX if Elon Musk was a pure financial guy and not an engineer. I cannot imagine how you can manage a software company without being a software engineer yourself. You have no way to judge whether a decision is good or bad. And so I guess it's true for every industry. If you don't understand your primary industry, what can you do except that hire consultants to do your job?
It is funny because if we have to hire a consultant that has to deal with the primary core asset that is the revenue generator of my company, it means that I am a slave on somebody that if is taking the wrong decision, my company goes bankrupt and still I have to pay the invoice of the consultant. So the skill in the game is absolutely unbalanced. And this is a starting point of a specific discussion that I want to do with you, that is related to the mediocrity of our industry. Because looking around, since 15 years ago, when we started to help organizations to onboard talents in their roster, we start to understand that the market is selling coders. Coders are even less than a developer. Developer, let's say, is somebody that went through a sort of training and understood how to talk with a computer in programming language. Coder are somebody that is simply coding, is writing stuff into an IDE. An engineer is somebody that understood, hey, you should apply engineering discipline into software. If you want the last level, is a modern software engineer that has to apply in this workflow of creating software also craftsmanship. Because without creativity, the right product with the speed of change in the technology cannot be delivered to our customer. And so the ROI is gone by design. But the point is, how many coders and developers are out there? And we have done a lot of investigation, a lot of screening of candidates, and we found that only a few, they're able to pass a basic test that would be the test to being an engineer into F1 or into a company that needs to be with high standard of quality. And this number is very low, it's 3%. And I was shocked when I started to realize this. You, as a CEO that has a background highly technically, do you struggle to find talents in your field?
Well, I believe your stat, 3%. I think for us, very important part of the interview process is the technical test. And we have to, it's a much better indicator of the quality of a developer than even their resume, right? We look essentially at two things. With experience, have they worked in companies where mistakes are critical? So they know what it means to build something that works, and do they pass the technical test? But we have, even with strict filters on the resume, we have a lot of people who don't pass the test on the interview. But we know that spending time in interviewing candidates and testing candidates is a lot of time you save compared to the lost time you can have if you have a bad developer in the team. I think it's what's a bit unique in the software industry compared to traditional manufacturing or whatnot is that software developers can have a negative productivity. If you have somebody who doesn't have the right level or make too many mistakes, it slows down the rest of the organization. It's very, very important to be extremely selective in the hiring process. Now, how would you attract the right kind of people? I think the top developers, the most talented people in software, they are looking for challenge, they are looking for impact, but they're also looking for a place where they will learn something. So if you want to attract the right kind of people, you have to show them that by coming to your organization, they will learn. Someone, a talented developer will not go to an organization where he will be the best or she will be the best. They want to work with people who are better or know better so that they will learn something. And that's the most important aspect for attractivity. What will you learn if you join me? Well, in our case, you will learn a lot about the business of our customers. What does it mean to build software that is used in business critical environment? What does it mean to build software that can be used to manufacture planes? What kind of process do you have to put in place to guarantee availability, performance, scalability in the kind of environment? There's not many software companies where you can build software for very large customers like Google and Veolia and Whirlpool and the likes. So it's part of the attractivity. But the most important thing is if you want to attract good developers, you have to show them that they will learn something in your organization.
It's beautiful what you just said because it's confirming indeed that when you know your domain, you are capable to understand the details that are not that clear for a lot of organizations. And indeed, a lot of organizations, they have canonical HR pipelines that they are looking for a resume. So I hire people by pedigree. Nowadays, with by creating a very attractive and sexy curriculum with high pedigree is so easy. And indeed, with our model, exactly. With our model, what we do is not only the technical test, but we do also a socio-technical test. What we saw after the advent of AI is that the failure rate on the technical test is increased because more people with a beautiful curriculum can pass through the screening process of the HR organization.
You have stats on that?
But
you have any statistics on that?
Yeah. So the amount of good resume that can pass the filters now is roughly 23-25% higher than in the past, because a lot of business model out there are helping you to create the perfect resume. Also, I believe after the COVID, we had a lot of millions of people laid off or organization. So there are a massive amount of people looking for jobs. So this could be another indicator why we have this spike. So I don't want to say that there is correlation between a pedigree and the amount of layoff, but could be something substantial in the amount of people that are using the AI to generate the perfect CV. But the funny part is that at the end, the amount of people that they can pass or technical test stays 3%. Despite this huge spike in a candidate that seems to be good on pedigree, the technical proficiency remains 3%. But then we have other over time or socio-technical tests. So we put people in connection with potential a team where they play a role-play game session to understand, hey, are you a disruptor on social chemistry or an aggregator, or which kind of archetype are you? Because there is nothing worse than the superhero with the super prima donna kind of attitude that goes in your team and then destroys everything. So as you said, absolutely in IT, one candidate can disrupt an entire team. And in Europe, for instance, where we have the labor union that protects the employees, you cannot kick them out of the organization because they are misbehaving.
Yeah.
And this is a huge problem.
For sure. Which brings back the criticity of selecting the filtering at the time of hiring, not later.
Exactly. And this is also creating an interesting domino effect. Working with a lot of organizations that went through digital transformation, what we observe is scenario, the industry as we understood is without standards. So the quality in software is unpredictable, but everybody is looking for speed. Then the quality of the people on the market is below mediocre, because if only 3% can pass a technical test, we can understand the amount of mediocrity there is out there.
Yes.
To a point that is standard for a customer accepting that my PC will blow up after a software update. That is something that I would never accept for a car. So if I go to a car dealer to do a service and after I go out of the dealer, my engine blow up, I guess I go into the dealer and I put their face inside the hood to fix it immediately. Instead, for software, I can accept that this can happen. Then a lot of organizations, they are hiring people, and because the culture is the sum of the single culture of the single people and their behavior, as hiring mediocre, over time, flat the culture to mediocrity. And this is a social behavioral aggregator that the bigger the company, the higher the odds that they are mediocre by designing their culture. So a leader, especially when a leader is not technical, what they typically do is digital transformations, following the hype, embracing agile, embracing DevOps, embracing AI, without knowing why.
Yes.
And this is, in my opinion, an interesting behavior of the market that is peculiar only in software. I don't remember that a manufacturer wanted absolutely to jump on the bandwagon of the latest technology to get a technical advantage without being sure that this will happen. But in software, we do that. Is this crazy?
I think it connects back to the same problem where the highest value in software is speed. There's so much press, marketing around build things, fail fast, the startup culture and so on, that you feel like if other companies move and you don't, then you're lagging behind. It's better to move fast than to think. which is not true in investment. Everybody knows that before deciding to build $1 billion factory, you better be sure of yourself, because you cannot unbuild the factory once it's there. And people think it's not the same in software because it's virtual, but it's completely the same, right? If you migrate your company to a certain technology, migrating is as hard as unbuilding the factory. And just because it's software doesn't mean that the same recipes don't apply. But for some reason, because of this hype about moving fast, the common sense that applies to physical investments doesn't apply to software investment as well. And I agree with your point. Most people who do digital transformation, they don't know why they do it. So if you're not clear on the problem you want to solve, how can you even measure success? The success is not, I successfully deployed Copilot in my company. Success is, I had this problem, I deployed Copilot, now I don't have this problem anymore.
Yep. But this is again an engineering mindset. I have an hypothesis, I do an experiment, I predict which kind of test I want to check to confirm that my experiment was successful, and then I am happy or unhappy of the results. A lot of organization instead is like the tourist in front of the Trevi Fountains in Rome, flipping the coin, hoping for the best. That is funny until it's working, but then it's not anymore funny.
If the coin does nothing, it will not do any detrimental effect. So
yes,
it's a sensible decision because the only outcome can be positive. At worst, it does nothing. In software investments, not the case. At worst, it can break things.
Yes, it can break even the organization. And yes, that's an interesting point you're discussing about the investment. So in the mainstream of the Forge of Unicorn so far, we have interviewed roughly 120 guests. The larger majority of them, they are investors. So I'm asking if they observe any trends now, especially that AI starts to become the giant that is eating all the funding around the world, if AI as a disruptor is taking over also the software investment. A lot of them, they say to me something that shocked me, honestly, because they said, you know, Mike, lately we are disinvesting from software. A lot of major investors that they were backing up unicorns like Airbnb, Uber, SpaceX, they're saying, no, we are disinvesting in software because software starts to become more expensive than investing in a traditional industry, in traditional hardware. That to me was, okay, this is funny. I need to discover more. And I have a research that is going on to understand if this is really real. But looking at a lot of companies that we are working and observing, indeed, how they approach software with this naive approach of, yeah, software is volatile. If you break something, you will fix it. Is really dangerous because the magnitude of the disaster is amplified by the size of the company. I guess that a lot of people, they are not capable to correlate their decision with the impact in their accounting book.
I think there's also a decorrelation between the market salaries of developers and the actual outcome. For sure, very talented developers, like the ones that are poached between the different AI providers, okay, they are specialists in a very important field, their value is unlimited, right? Because it's a rare commodity that nobody else can have. But when you look at entry-level developers, gets salaries that are higher than skilled engineers in physical manufacturing, there's a disconnect, right? Which might be correcting right now with the tech layoffs, but for many years, it's a drama in India, for example. I've read somewhere that the salaries in IT are so high that all of the talented Indians are going to IT instead of they could have gone to nuclear manufacturing or automotive or things like that. But no, it's such discrepancy funded by VC money, presumably, that it's distorting the market.
And what you touch here as a point, I guess that with AI, this starts to be even more crazy. For instance, I was looking a few weeks ago on the project from Meta about the superintelligence team. Only for paying the salaries, I was reading that they have in budget 400 millions. The team is 10 people. I was looking and screening the public information about them to understand which are the skills in the team. the larger majority of them seems to be, by the public information that are available, all computer scientists. And I'm asking myself, with the background of somebody that is passionate of neuroscience and behavioral psychology, how can we try to emulate how the brain is working if in the team there is nobody that is a neuroscientist and a behavioral scientist? Especially, how can we have the arrogance to say that we will have AI for everybody thinking like a superhuman if we don't even know how the brain is working on a science point of view? But then these companies are pouring millions to pay them, creating a divergence between the average salaries and these top talents that are even not possible to certify if they are really talented or they were lucky to be with the right pedigree at the right moment doing something right. Because
arrogance
at the end,
is a common trait in Silicon Valley, I believe. So it's not that shocking after all.
I don't know if it's arrogance or being naive.
Yeah, a bit of both.
With the fake until you make it.
A bit of both.
Yes, could be. Surely is creating an environment where incongruences in salaries, in expectation, in hype versus reality is becoming more and more evident to everybody. I was reading the latest report of the first 6 months of a report on investment from VC, and it's clear that all the capital is moving toward AI-driven organization, leading all the normal organization that they are looking for investment and funding without money. That is, in my opinion, a drama, because if all the funding is moving towards AI, what happens to the other kind of business, the traditional business?
Well, there's a silver lining to it, because part of the money that's going to AI is in fact reinvested in energy. And you see the surge of engineering and funding in the nuclear energy business, or even in the power grid in general, because those data centers are so power hungry that indirectly those billions of dollars will end up, I pray for it, modernizing the grid and developing new solutions of clean energy. So there could be, by ricochet, that good effect to all of this money. I hope for it. I have no certitude, but I hope for it, certainly.
Looking at the history of the humankind, the main driver of development in our humankind that was financial development or work development was indeed energy in the last
Yes.
1 century. And it's clear from the forecast of the energy division that AI seems to improve the demand of energy from the grid in a forecast from 26 to 40%, if I am right. So in 2030, so in almost 5 years, grid should be improved of at least 40% of energy providing. If we think that in Europe, a lot of main city, they have a programmatic blackout during the summer due to the high consumption of the air conditioning, we can understand that the main grid is not ready for that. And we have only 5 years to figure it out how to do that. So it's indeed an interesting challenge, because this finally creates a real problem that can move us toward a more sustainable way of living.
Yeah, exactly.
Good. So I see that the time is passing too fast. Do you have anything else that you want to share as a suggestion, as a recommendation to the other CEOs that they are leading a SaaS company, from your point of view of a guy that spent all his life since the academy time into technology, being now one of the biggest SaaS company in document management?
I would say one of the most important things, both for hiring, ensuring quality, and motivating the teams, is just make sure that your developers understand the purpose, the usage of your product. I mean, it sounds cliche, but so many times I see developers who have no idea why they need this feature or that feature, or I'm working on this, but I have no idea why it's used. It's terrible. If your developer knows that that particular feature is used by an airplane manufacturer to avoid certain mistake or to deliver planes faster, or the world is changing. Okay, I cannot afford to make a mistake, and I know my work has an impact on the world. So I guess the single most important things in terms of company culture is to make sure the entire company, from the product owners, the quality managers, the developers, everybody knows what the product is used for and why it's important. And then everything aligns automatically.
I love it because you have touched the problem, the common problem that we have witnessed in all the organization. That is a double layered detachment from board and executive to the employees, and then from the product division to the people that are building the product. And it's a problem that we understood possible to mitigate a lot, embracing a right way of doing OKR with a behavioral flavor, where you enhance clarity and purpose alignment, with the key result, redirecting the dysfunctional behavior in the organization towards something more functional. This is absolutely an amazing suggestion, and it cannot come from somebody that doesn't have your technical background. So chapeau again, because it's something that only a few can understand is a problem in their organization. Because until an organization is profitable, we are all happy campers.
Yeah, absolutely.
Good. Stéphan, thank you so much. I loved our discussion. I will stay here hours to discuss with you about geek stuff on languages and documents and other stuff. But this podcast is for investors, leadership, CEO like you, that they are leading in this turbulent time their company. So thank you so much.
Thank you.
I will link in the description all the reference to you, how to reach out to you. Guys, please subscribe, because roughly 98% of people looking at our podcast, they are not subscribers. So please subscribe. This will help us tremendously to spread the messages from leaders like Stéphan in how to lead an organization in the proper way. Share, smash your comment below, and talk to you in the next episode. Cheers, and until next time, keep evolving.
Thank you.
Thanks for listening, and please remember to subscribe to the Forge of Unicorns to stay up to date with our latest episodes.